The farm bill we just discussed is heading to the president's desk, but not without some controversy. The bill narrowly advanced in the House after lawmakers included the addition of a rule that prevents debate on U.S. support of Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen. Joining us now, Republican member of the House Agriculture Committee, Congressman Roger Marshall of Kansas. Congressman, good to have you on this morning. Explain a little more. What was the controversy in that farm bill?
Well, the controversy was on the rule. As you may recall, the final vote was overwhelming. Over 90% of us supported the final bill itself. But in some procedural moments, we have to vote on a rule, and that rule included some language on Yemen. And just what I would emphasize is that certainly it was a curveball, but I think what this was all about was trying to halt and put a halt on Iranian aggression in the Middle East.
So let me ask you about one of your tweets, Congressman. We're talking about the meeting between the president, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer in the Oval Office, the much talked about meeting, the televised meeting that was in the Oval Office. You wrote this: "I will always support Donald Trump putting national security first. Securing our borders is a no-brainer. Nancy Pelosi and Senator Schumer, in their unending efforts to work against anything the president proposes, are working against the security of our nation." That's a pretty serious claim, that they're working against the security of our nation. What did you mean specifically by that, Congressman?
Well, you know, this is the brilliance of Donald Trump, is to put that meeting on national TV so everybody can see the dynamics of what's going on when the president tries to meet with Mr. Schumer and Ms. Pelosi. So this border is all about national security. Every day, over 10 terrorists and 40 criminals try to cross that border.
Where are you getting that number, sir, that 10 terrorists try to cross the border?
Over 90% of the illicit opioids come into this country through that border as well, from DHS, from the Department of Homeland Security.
That they capture 10 terrorists at the border every day?
That 10 terrorists try to cross that border every day.
And how do they assess that? How do they know they're terrorists, in other words?
Well, I think that we have to trust that that's what the DHS is communicating to Congress. So we obviously have experienced guards down there, experienced people that are patrolling that border.
And what kind of terrorists are they specifically? Because we know since 9/11, no radical Islamic terrorists, in fact, who have committed acts inside this country, have come across the southern border.
Right. I think that the Secretary of State has orders what he would consider a terrorist, and if they meet those criteria, then that's what the Department of Homeland Security is going to work with. But I certainly would not undermine or underestimate the threats on this country coming across our borders by terrorists.
Congressman, I mean, have you made a call to DHS to where are these terrorists now presently being held?
I'm not saying that they've all made it even across the border, but if they're it would be in our jails.
Okay. What about people coming across the border? What would happen to a lot of the farmers who are in your district if they had to go without the migrants who come across the border to assist in helping them, close their crops at the end of the season?
Oh, it would be really tough. We have probably 50,000 open jobs in Kansas right now. We have 70,000 jobs that depend upon an agriculture guest worker visa, and that's why I prioritize working so hard to make sure that we have more agriculture guest worker visas.
Are you worried that any of them might be terrorists?
I sure would be, absolutely, and we've had some, unfortunately, some terrorist actions in Kansas. But I think that most of the people that are here illegally have came here legally and were properly vetted. But absolutely, I'm concerned about terrorism.
Well, I think we all are. This is Gene Robinson, Congressman. You said everybody could watch the meeting and make their own judgments. One other thing that everybody knows and can see is that Republicans have a majority in both the House and the Senate. So why are you blaming Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer for what Republicans could just do if they want to do it?
Right, and I think that's my concern is why do we always focus on the blame? What I want to do is take responsibility. I think I want to take responsibility and say that border security is so important that we're willing to shut the government down if we can't fund $5 billion of border security now. And as you know, we need 60 votes in the Senate. We're not going to get those 60 votes unless we have some Democrats cross the line. We can do it in the House. We'll get it done in the House, but we need some Democrats to cross the line on the Senate side.
Why doesn't the Speaker just call the vote in the House, as Speaker-to-be Pelosi suggested? Why don't you just go ahead and do that? That might show the Senate the House is serious, might move things forward. Why doesn't that happen?
You know, I'm certainly willing to do that. As a matter of fact, I expect the Republican House to demand we get to have that vote before January 1st gets here. So I expect that'll happen. Again, we're just not ready to put all our cards on the table. We want to give the Senate some time to negotiate and work out a plan as well. It'd be much smoother if we have some confidence from the Senate side as well. But we're very willing to do that, and I have confidence in our conference that we can get this vote across the border.
Congressman Roger Marshall, thank you very much for being with us. We should point out to our viewers the man who was charged in Kansas City with providing material support to ISIS did not come across the border. He was a man from Missouri. Coming up later, Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill joins us. Morning Joe is back in a moment.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.